first, we're joined by Fox News contributor, former Congressman TREY GOWDY. Congressman, let's get your reaction now that we know tonight that the Attorney General has, in fact, assigned this U.S. attorney in Connecticut to review the origins of the Russian inquiry. That and what other questions would you like answered?
Well, this is the fourth person that's been charged with investigating the origins of the Russia probe. So I'm more interested in how quickly they do it and how effectively they do it more than the number. So if this is the right person to do it, more power to them. There's an easy roadmap to follow, Sean. We know the origins of the Russia probe, what Russia did to us. I want to know the origins of when the Bureau began to intermingle the Trump campaign with the Russia probe. You just quoted Lindsey Graham as saying they want to stop Trump. All Lindsey was doing was quoting Peter Strzok. That's what Peter Strzok said in the text. No, we'll stop it. So what are the origins? Then I want to know, how did the FBI assess Christopher Steele? They have their own internal documents. Part of what Lindsey wants to make public are the internal FBI documents where they did their own assessment, and I think you'll be surprised at whether or not they viewed Steele as being credible.
This is all in the Gang of Eight information, I'm told, my sources?
I saw it before I left. I know Johnny Ratcliffe's seen it. I know exactly what Johnny and Lindsey are talking about. They're talking about internal FBI documents where they did their own assessment of whether or not Chris Steele was reliable. They're talking about 302s where an FBI informant said he'd do anything in the world to make sure Donald Trump lost. That wasn't a DNC employee. That was an FBI informant before they got rid of him for breaking FBI rules. But what Lindsey...
You're a great prosecutor. Let me ask you a series of quick questions. Are you convinced that FBI agents, as well as the Attorney General at the time, Loretta Lynch, that they rigged Hillary's investigation?
I am convinced that they handled that investigation in a way unlike any investigation I have ever seen handled before. And the fact that you still have to ask that question, Sean, after a, 12-month investigation by the world's premier law enforcement agency, the meeting on the tarmac, the fact that Comey had to threaten special counsel. You mentioned that Comey leaked memos because he wanted special counsel appointed for Trump.
Let me be more specific.
What did he do when he had questions about Loretta Lynch? Did you see him leak anything then?
Nope. 18 U.S.C. is clear, isn't it? If you have top secret classified information on a private server, is that not a violation of the Espionage Act, a clear one?
If you handle it negligently, yes.
Okay, well, we know it was handled negligently. And would it be, for example, would there be intention if you delete 33,000 subpoenaed emails, acid wash your hard drive with bleach pit, bust up your devices and with hammers and pull out SIM cards, sir? You never lost a case. Would that be a good case for obstruction of justice, a clear and convincing case, one beyond any reasonable doubt?
It is fantastic evidence on the issue of intent, which is what Comey said he didn't have. It is consciousness of wrongdoing. It is knowledge, all of that, in addition to the multiple misstatements, demonstrably false statements she made about her handling of it.
Are you convinced that there was a fraud committed against the FISA court withholding that Hillary paid for that dossier and that, in fact, the bulk of evidence was unverifiable and that they never verified whether anything Steele wrote is true? And did they do it to spy on the Trump campaign, sir?
Sean, I can tell you it is even worse than what you described. It is what you described in addition to the withholding of exculpatory information, which is what has Johnny Ratcliffe so exercised. And they made no effort to corroborate the dossier until after it had been used in the application and a renewal. No effort. It's not that they failed. They made no effort to do it.
Last question.
So whoever's investigating this, tell them to look for emails between Brennan and Comey in December of 2016.
Are you convinced that that phony Russian dossier bought by Hillary Clinton, created by Steele, that they lied to at the FISA court? Are you convinced they tried to undo a president, the duly elected president of the United States, and take him down?
I'm just going based on what Peter Strzok said. He thought he'd be the lead agent in charge of investigating this, said he thought Trump would be destabilizing, had an insurance policy, and then promised his lover that we will stop it. So you answer it.
Well said. You never lost a case, did you? Thank you, sir.
This standoff between the White House and House Democrats is escalating after the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee subpoenaed Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and IRS Commissioner Charles Reddick for President Trump's tax returns, setting a Friday deadline. This, as the Washington Post is reporting, President Trump and his allies are working to block more than 20 separate investigations into the president's personal finances, policies, and actions as president. Here's House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff.
The Trump administration has decided to say a blanket no to any kind of oversight whatsoever, no witnesses, no documents, no nothing, claiming executive privilege over things that it knows there is no basis for. So they're just stonewalling. They want to draw this out as long as possible, and we're going to fight it. We are fighting it.
Joining me now, former California Republican Congressman Darrell Issa. Great to see you today. I first want to ask just about the kind of the disingenuousness, if you will, from someone as Chairman Schiff. And I say this in all honesty and fairness. Where does he come from when he presses for this, when he still hasn't shown us the evidence of collusion that he said he had against the president?
Harris, you're exactly right. Adam Schiff and I came into Congress 18 years ago together. After 18 years, it's very clear that he knows he has been disingenuous / lied about having evidence, because he's not coming forward nor claiming that he has it any longer. Instead, he's shifted to the destruction of the president. And, you know, for your viewers, one thing that I think they all have to understand is Congress does not have oversight authority because of the Constitution. We have it because of the necessity to know things in order to legislate. And as a result, the courts have always held that there has to be a legislative purpose. Simply wanting to poke into the president's tax records to see if you can find a crime where the IRS hasn't, or demanding that the Attorney General break the law and give them openly information that should not be made public, has no legislative purpose. And I think Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler and others are ill-served to keep demanding things they shouldn't ask for. Well, in fact, they're forcing the administration sometimes to say no in a fairly blanket way because they're tired of nothing having anything to do with legislation.
I wrote down what you said about the Constitution not giving Congress the power of oversight. And look, I understand that there is a history, a very rare and remote and old history, of using a kind of contempt, an inherent contempt that looks at the Constitution maybe differently. Democrats are looking at that. I quoted a Congressman Raskin, a Democrat, saying that, yeah, they can arrest anybody basically that they want to because they have that. Is that true?
Well, we also don't have arrest authority, although we did historically have a jail in the basement, as the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has said. The question is not can the House expand its authorities and push and create a constitutional crisis. The question is, will this new Congress in the House use its authority responsibly, use the historic oversight, which we do have, to ask for those things which they need, such as more information about Russian involvement in our election? Should we change our laws? Should we have verifiable voter ID? Should we enhance our census so that we're better able to deal with the attempts by the Russians to adversely affect the outcome of an election?
So I hear you and other Republicans saying that, yes, those are perhaps necessities and well within the bounds of what the powers of Congress can accomplish. But are you confident that Democrats can do that and stay away from all of these other areas of investigations, or open them up about everybody? Look at everybody equally.
Well, in Harris, I think you hit the nail on the head. All the way back with our founding fathers, they had objected to what Henry VIII had done in 1542, which was bills of attainder, passing laws in order to go after one or a small group of people. But that's exactly what's happening. This bill to demand 10 years of the president's tax records, it's not about the next president, it's about this president. And it doesn't serve us well. It's very hard to legislate in this environment. And the American people are asking us to deal with some very difficult issues, such as over 500,000 people caught at the border so far this year. That's going to put us at a rate of more than twice our historic record of illegal crossings.
I'm going to ask our team if we can possibly hear from Senator Kamala Harris, because she's riding in two lanes. One is as a presidential candidate and one is as a senator. Can we watch that real quickly as last point?
There is a failure to respect the significance of Congress's duty to perform a role of oversight over the administration, over the agencies. I'm seeing a failure to appreciate the importance of testifying before Congress in a way that is straightforward and truthful. So I think, yes, I think it is fair to say that we are looking at a crisis, not only of confidence, but potentially a constitutional crisis.
Your last word.
Well, you know, going back to the House, when Eric Holder, the last person held in contempt of Congress, was held in contempt of Congress, it was over 250 days from the demand for records to the final vote. And by comparison, it was 19 days for Jerry Nadler. One of the things that Senator Harris doesn't seem to understand is the deliberative process, the negotiation back and forth, even going down to the Department of Justice and looking at the unredacted Mueller report, which is open to the members of Congress, including the senator. The Democrats have refused to do it, where Republicans have gone down and looked at it. These steps have to be taken if you want to be credible on whether or not the president is withholding. And I think that's the most important thing is the Attorney General is held in contempt. Well, the document sits there open to the members of Congress if they'll just go to the Department of Justice and read it.
I hear you say that word over and over. Credible, credibility. If you want to be credible, there's certain things you have to do. Darrell Issa on the program with me today. Great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Harris.